hello. Good afternoon, Sunrise Management Consulting residents. I'm the company's marketing director, Heather Schechter, and I'm so excited to welcome you today. While you are staying home to stay safe during this pandemic, we wanted to stay connected and bring you speakers with tips and ideas you could use. With gyms closed and you spending more time at home to stay safe, you may need to get creative to stay strong. And if you're working from home, are you paying attention to ergonomics? Today, I'm excited to be joined by Travis Gill, the founder of Fitness Artist, a workout facility in Clifton Park, and Workforce Strong, which provides strategic training in injury prevention to corporate and government organizations. Today, Travis will give us tips to stay fit and strong at home during this pandemic. If you have any questions, please submit them using the Q&A feature during this webinar, and we will save time to answer some questions at the end. Thank you again for joining us, and I'm happy to now introduce Travis Gill.
Thanks for having me, and it's a pleasure to be here today. Over the past couple of months, how many of you have made a promise to yourself to accomplish a specific goal? Whether that be to lose weight, start a workout regimen, or even just to tackle cleaning out your closet. You begin with great intentions, but end up falling off path. In fact, most people are in the same boat. So Heather, would you say that you're in the same boat?
So I've already had a working out from home exercise routine, which has been helpful to keep going. But I know a lot of people are used to going to gyms like your gym or participating in classes or running outside. And there's been a lot of uncertainty at this time. So I think a lot of people may need to start trying something new to stay in shape.
Yeah, I think those are great answers. I think, everybody is in the same boat. And since the end of March, each of us has had our lives literally flipped upside down. So the stay-at-home order really has forced us to pivot unexpectedly away from our everyday working routines and more into the uncharted waters for sure. So that ends up leaving us really feeling, like you had said, uncomfortable, maybe stressed, unmotivated. And I keep thinking to myself and saying, is this the new norm? And I know a lot of people out there are feeling the same way. So, but after thinking long and hard about it, I really started to think, what if we could make work easier and also smarter? Imagine one day that you woke up feeling like less stressed or pain-free and, more motivation. A lot of people, that may sound impossible, but the truth is really feeling good and making it attainable aren't really that far apart from each other. So I'm going to show you some vital techniques today that will help that dream kind of come a reality. And you're going to learn how to become functional, flexible, and fit. All right. So think of it as your new daily roadmap to a new you. All right. So babies are functional, flexible, and fit. Anytime I think of functionality, I think of a baby. All right. So everyone in this Zoom call, they were once a baby, right? And what happened? I mean, I guess it's called life, but the good news is that we can relearn what we knew as babies. Okay, so those out there, you may have heard the term diaphragmatic breathing, all right? So what I want you to do for those at home, I want you to place your left hand on your chest and your right hand on your belly, okay? From here, I want you to take 3 deep breaths. Okay, that's 1. I can see you. You better be doing this. 2, and 1 more. 3, okay? This last one, on the 4th breath, I want you to take a deep breath and I want you to hold it in. So we're gonna take a deep breath, all right? Now the left hand on top, where your chest is, do you feel that raising? Okay, how about that bottom hand?
Yes.
Okay, so you're getting a little bit of the chest raise and the belly raise, all right? So when we're asked to take a deep breath, right, we want to breathe through our belly, all right? So a lot of people through stress and, sitting stagnant for hours on end or being on phone calls or driving, we tend not to breathe. So when you're thinking about breathing, I want you to start with your left hand on your chest, right hand on your belly, and I want you to think about inflating the balloon. So your belly is a balloon. You're inflating that balloon. Your chest, my hand isn't moving. And then I'm deflating the balloon, just breathing right through the belly. All right? So for those that have kids at home, an infant, maybe you're a grandparent or an aunt, uncle, one of the things I want you to do is when you go home, or when you are home, right? I want you to be able to take a look at the baby's breathing, all right? So I'm gonna show you just a quick demonstration of my son, Luca, who is actually 2 years old. And this is a quick video of him breathing, all right? So Heather, you can see that, right?
Yes.
He's a 2-year-old, but if you look at his belly kind of rising up and down, there he is, little Luca. So that's where we want to be breathing, okay? So that is little Luca. He just turned 2 on Tuesday.
Yep.
All right, so I'm going to stop that share there. Okay. All right, so going back to breathing through the diaphragm, the diaphragm is the most efficient muscle for our breathing. It is a large dome-shaped muscle located at the base of the lungs, all right? So throughout life, we lose our ability to breathe correctly, whether that's when we get stressed to meet an important deadline or pushed into a tough situation like being stuck at home, uncertain of when the lockdown is going to end. So when we breathe through our diaphragm, we have increased energy and control. All right, for those that are on the computer for the most part of the day, you may see a lot of, or might be in a position where you're actually here, okay? So here's your computer, and your posture is here. All right, so I'm typing, 20 minutes go by, 30 minutes go by, I'm still in this position, right? And then I get up and I try to move and I tweak my back. How many of you at home have experienced something like that? Why is that happening, right? So our spine isn't meant to stay in a flexed position for hours on end. So what we have to do is we actually have to reverse that spine posture, right? So if you look at a skeleton spine isn't rounded at the top, right? It has that lower lumbar curve, all right? So when we are in this position, we lose that curve, that natural curve of the spine. An ancient Chinese proverb actually said that you're only as old as your as the health of your spine. Okay, so there are things that you can do to kind of alleviate that, and we'll kind of go through some of that as we go through this presentation. But I wanted to go back to some of the things with, going back to the baby, right? So throughout life, we end up losing our functionality too, okay? When you look at a squat, so how are we supposed to squat? I'm gonna show you a quick video of my son, Luca, doing a squat. All right, hang on just 1 second here. Share this screen. All right, so from here, this is him fake eating.
What are you eating?
Like
Yeah, what is that? Look at that squat.
Okay.
Luca, show us your squat. Show us your squat.
Now look down at that form.
Wow.
All right. So a lot of us at home, we lose that functionality to be able to squat perfectly like that, right? So those at home, when you have the baby, a toddler, you watch them squat and you go, oh my goodness, look at how effortlessly they move. So why is that? Why does that happen? Okay, so think about hours on end of being seated in a position or on the couch. The good thing is we have the comfortability of working from home, but we tend to get into very uncomfortable positions after a while, right? So a lot of you who are laying on the couch and trying to work, or having the cell phone on your right shoulder like this here, okay? Think about throughout time what that's actually doing to our alignment, all right? Our spine health. What I want to show you here is a little prop. So some of you might have heard the phrase fascia, all right? What is fascia? Fascia is a connective tissue that connects our organs and our muscles. It's really a really kind of sheet of, I like to say, a spider web, okay? From basically the top of our head all the way down to our toes, all right? So back in the early days, doctors or surgeons, when they're in the cadaver labs, they would actually take the fascia, take it out and chuck it to the side, and actually not think it has any relevance at all to the body. But through a lot of research now, they're realizing that the fascia is incredibly important, okay? So think about the fascia tissue, okay? If you have a spider web here throughout the body, all right? And we start developing these little knots, these little spiders right here. Say if I'm in a position where my shoulders are rounded for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, going on 2 hours, think about what that's actually doing. So after a while, I tend to start getting these knots right in my upper back and into my neck area, all right? So I may have, the cool thing is from the head down, we're made of this, fascia. So I may have shoulder pain, say shoulder, pain in my left shoulder. And I say to myself, well, I have the pain there, so it must be a problem with my left shoulder, right? Think about if you were on the phone for a half hour to an hour like this, even though my left shoulder's on the opposite side, I'm still stagnant. So think about the fascia and this spider web, or the spider, knotting up over here. So if I if I don't have range of motion in this right side of my neck, what is this doing to my left shoulder? It's raising it up. It's putting it at alignment. And it's adding to, it could add to pretty extreme injury. And the wild thing is that fascia does not show up in an X-ray or an MRI, okay? So I ask you to, after this, do some homework on fascia. It's pretty wild. And for those at home who have gotten a deep tissue massage, right? So you're getting that massage and you hit that point where you're like, oh, it gives you that big gasp of air, right? So that is that spider in that spider web. So what you want to do is you want to work and massage deep into that spider, that muscle tissue, so it lengthens, right? And so I can actually move my neck around, right? So I have a lacrosse ball here, okay? One of these things, actually, this is probably, I would say, this is a must in my daily routine. I always have this, whether it's in my car or at my office, wherever it is, I have this lacrosse ball. So the lacrosse ball acts as that deep tissue massage, all right? So how do I massage my upper back or my neck? What I'm gonna do, if I know I'm gonna be seated for a while, or if I know that I'm going on a long drive, I'm gonna take my lacrosse ball and I'm actually gonna put it right in my upper back. So into that trap area, right? So I'm actually gonna hold this here and I'm gonna work out that kink, okay? So really you can use this lacrosse ball all throughout the body. A lot of people suffer from lower back issues, okay? So you think that the main problem is your lower back, but think about staying in a position where your hips are stagnant for hours on end, right? So if I'm seated, there's no movement going on and my hips are locked. So if I have really tight hips, if I can't get the range of motion in my hips because my fascia starts really tightening up, that's going to trigger all the way into my lower back, and that again will not show up in an MRI or an X-ray, right? So you may have a herniated disc, which most people actually do have some sort of herniation in their disc. A lot of times it's coming from a different area of your body. So there are other things you can do for those that suffer from maybe carpal tunnel, right? You're typing on your computer a lot. A lot of times can stem from your elbow all the way down. What I like to do is you have fascia in your hands too. So I like to take this ball and I like to just massage out right through my thumbs into the sides where my pinkies are, side of the hands, super tender. It might even be a little painful, but if you do have that pain, it's actually signaling that there might be some issue going on, that the fascia might be really bound up. So I love this. You might have heard of the foam roller. Okay, the foam rollers are starting to become more and more popular. So I actually do have a foam rolling video, one that kind of gives you a step-by-step on how to utilize it and use it throughout our whole body. That's on our YouTube channel, Fitness Artist YouTube channel. All right, so now going into what can you do to combat, in addition to foam rolling or fascia release, what can you do to kind of combat being stagnant, right? So we like to go into, it's called dynamic stretching. All right, so dynamic stretching is kind of it, just in short, it's really stretching while moving. All right, so getting you kind of work ready. So what I like to do, if I know I'm gonna be seated for a while or have to be in an awkward position, if I'm at home doing a chore at home and I'm underneath the sink, right? And my shoulders here, my legs up in the air. You really are, and then you get up and you're like, you're walking sideways, right? What I like to do are some really cool stretches that you can do just your body weight. You don't need any fancy tools, right? So what I want you to do, all right, for those at home, right, that are watching this, I want you to stand on up, and we're actually gonna go through some dynamic stretching, all right? We're just gonna go through 6 or 7 different stretches that you can do that will certainly help you combat the tightness, all right? So, Heather, are you gonna get up here?
I probably won't, so that I don't lose my connection.
I'm putting you on the spot, you know?
Right.
All right, so let's see here. About there, perfect. Good, everybody can see me at home? All right, so you have your workspace either at home, right, or in your office. So there's not a crazy amount of space, all right? So what I want you to do is we're gonna do some knee hugs here, all right? So I'm gonna just grab my knee, just pull right on up, all right? Remember when I was telling you about the lower back issues stemming from the hips? We're just gonna kind of get some range of motion in those hip flexors. So groin area, okay? So pulling right on up, all right? Now from here, what I wanna do is we're gonna do a toe tap, okay? So I am here, I'm gonna extend one foot out with my toe raised. I'm gonna come down and I'm just gonna tap that opposite toe, standing all the way up, tap, okay? We're actually activating those hamstrings. So the back of the legs are correlated directly to that lower back, okay? Now from here, we're gonna go into Frankenstein kicks. So I'm here, and I'm alternating legs up. And you can see I'm dressed up right now. So you don't need to be in shorts and a t-shirt, okay? And from here, we're just gonna go side twist, okay? Shoulder circles. This is just to get prepared to work, all right? You don't have to be lifting anything. It's being prepared to sit or stand for 10, 15 minutes in a row, okay? All right? So from here, lastly, what I want to do is I'm just going to come forward, all right? I'm going to place my left hand on the ground. Right foot is going to be out. I'm going to raise on up to the ceiling, okay? I'm going to come back down, raise back up, raise it on up, okay? So I'm getting a really good hip stretch, glute stretch, and then also spine stretch. So mid to upper back, that thoracic spine, the one where we actually want to get some mobility in, all right? But when we're standing or sitting for a prolonged period of time, it ends up being stuck in that position. So coming through, then we're just going to switch legs. All right, please don't tell me that I'm the only one doing this right now. So we're here, back down, coming through. You can also bring that elbow all the way down to the ground to kind of deepen that range and back up, okay? So that's just a 5-6 exercise dynamic stretch routine. If you'd like to, I can send you that information. I can send Heather 5 or 6 different exercises, stretches that you can do. Okay, so the next are static stretches, right? So that will increase your flexibility, all right? So in order to be fit, you have to be functional, right? You have to be flexible too, okay? So the dynamic stretch kind of warms us up, ready for work, or midway through sitting or standing for 15, 20 minutes, I'll hit, you know, maybe 2 to 3 minutes worth of that stretching just to kind of keep our body moving, right? So a lot of times people say, well, sitting is the worst thing for you. It's the worst, right? But I would like to argue that because it's not necessarily sitting as the culprit, right? It's being stagnant, okay? Remember, we're not supposed to be here in a position for a prolonged period of time. So if you are sitting, okay, it's very easy to kind of lose track of our posture once we get involved in a, assignment for hours on end. But it's also hard to do that when you're standing too, right? So if you're standing, a lot of times people are getting these stand-up desks. That's great. I would recommend that over sitting, but you can also get into some trouble by standing, okay, and being here and typing, all right? Or just putting your weight on the right side of your body. What is this doing to my left side of my body, right? It's making my shoulder come forward, out of posture, right? Rather than being here, straight up posture, okay? So what I like to do is, at home, I'll sit for 20 minutes in a position, I'll stretch for 3 to 5 minutes, and then I'll stand for 20 minutes and work, and then I'll stretch for 3 to 5 minutes, and then I'll go back to sitting. Whatever it is, you're constantly reversing the posture, constantly moving. All right? Any questions thus far, or?
Yes, I have some questions here. What do you think about using an exercise ball, kneeling chair, or other alternative to typical desk chairs? Are there risks with using those too?
I think that's a great question. There was a big fad for the stability ball chairs for sure. But I think you can get into some trouble too by sitting in a stability ball. Because again, your hips are locked, your legs are locked in a position for an extended amount of time. So yes, you may be forced to utilize your core just a little bit more, right? But a lot of times throughout work, right, we get so involved in what we're doing, we lose all body awareness and we start doing this on a stability ball. So I like the fact that it's kind of like that trigger to, sit up straight, engage your core, right? Everybody says, engage your core, engage your core. You're like, I think I'm engaging my core. I don't really know, but so drawing your belly button into your spine, right? But a lot of times we lose that ability to engage our core by staying stagnant for so long. That's why, like, if you go and you're seated for a while, you're standing for a while, then you go down and you try to tie your shoes, you end up tweaking your back and you're like, oh my goodness, I'm getting old. What is going on? And I'm saying that because I know that was me. So I actually have a herniated L5-S1 low back spine or bottom spine. And that's the reason why I got involved in being functional, flexible, and fit, because I was forced, it was like I couldn't, every single day was agony, right? So it wasn't until I was introduced to the foam roller, to the lacrosse ball, that fascia, doing some of the dynamic stretching and the static stretching, that was when I really started to feel better. So I don't know if that was kind of a long-winded answer, but I think all those devices are cool, but again, it's maybe 20 minutes of sitting on that ball, making sure that posture is engaged, but 20 minutes after, standing up, doing some movement, stretching, reversing that posture, okay?
I think you just answered sort of the next question, but how long is it okay to sit at a computer desk, even in an ergonomically correct position, before it's important to get up or change positions?
That's a great question. Yeah, I mean, I like to say the 20-minute rule. I like to kind of, again, reverse that posture after the 20 minutes, just because your body gets tired and everybody's body's different. So a lot of times it's interesting too, you see, say this person who's an extreme athlete, right? Maybe they're a Ironman or Iron Woman. And I see a lot more issues structurally with with those type of bodies, not saying it's a bad thing, it's just the wear and the tear, it's the intensity. And I love training those individuals because I start introducing lengthening to them. And so just because you're an extreme athlete, you're in really good shape, doesn't mean that you don't experience back pain or neck pain or hip, knee, whatever it may be. That just rhymed, that was pretty good. But no, that's really kind of, that would be kind of a long-winded answer for that too. I mean, it's just reversing that posture.
One thing I'm noticing from the poll too, is we ask people, are you continuing to exercise? Most are saying yes. The next biggest response is it's something I'm working towards, but have not started doing yet. And most people previously went to a gym or fitness room. So.
Yeah. Well, I think it's because, a lot of it we talked about, kind of going off into uncharted waters, right? So we're out of our routine. So what I like to do is I like to kind of think about what I did when I was forced to go to the office, right? I mean, we're creatures of habit. So think about establishing a routine, right? Square one, it's just getting up and making your bed. Most of us don't make our bed, right? I mean, it's a very, small percentage of people who get up and they make their bed. But just accomplishing that small feat of saying, okay, I made my bed, right? Take a shower, get up and get ready for the day, dress for success. That's gonna just start setting the tone so that you're able to make those better decisions to say, all right, let's, instead of having a Zoom meeting, right, where we're sitting on the couch, let's go for a walk and have a Zoom meeting. Why not? You're releasing endorphins, you're getting that exercise, you're actually able to think clearer, right? Focusing on that diaphragmatic breathing while you walk. So more ideas actually come about that. So that's something, that I would definitely recommend for sure.
Here's another question, especially now, some of us who work in cubicle farms don't have a lot of room to get up and stretch. Can you recommend ways to get some of the benefits without getting up or using so much space?
Sure. So I think, I mean, even with the stretches that I was doing before, I mean, I'm a tall guy. I may hit my head on the ceiling if I was in a cubicle or not, but so if I'm standing here, literally, you're going high knees, you're getting just some movement in you, right? You're twisting back and forth. We can go more into static stretching, where we're just holding this posture 20 seconds, holding this stretch. A lot of it depends too, everybody has different problem areas, whether it be your lower back's bothering you, your knees bothering you, your hands and wrists, whatever it may be. I like to hit the whole body just so that I can, remain injury-free, right? But even for my wrists and hands, just simple wrist stretches. Here, holding here, pulling the fingers back, right? Holding here. But it's after, like I said, that 20 minutes, that's my big thing. After that 20 minutes, it's like we start getting into that danger zone of we're just starting to get real tight, right? We start, or we stop focusing on our breathing. So then we start chest breathing. And then that just adds to like this bound up stress ball, right? So the more limber we can be, the more body conscious we can be, the less injury ridden or the less tight our body's gonna be overall. So even against the wall, a really good stretch. Because a lot of times when I talk about reversing your posture, right, we tend to not activate the back as often as we should, right? So our back, when we're talking about strength, right? So everyone goes, let's go to the gym, let's pump iron, whatever it may be. But if you don't have that structural strength in those, we call the lats, so your side back area, okay? It's not gonna allow you to be able to hold that posture for a while. Or, going back to strength and then even into the flexibility part, right? So I like to go into just some cool stretches. One you can do along the wall is you can kind of put your elbows into a field goal sign, all right? And then what you're gonna do, I have a bar here, so I'm not able to get all the way against the wall, but if my back is against the wall, my elbows are here at 90 degrees, I'm just sliding up the wall, then right back down. So I wanna keep my shoulders down, so my posture is here rather than here. Because if I'm just doing this, I'm not getting any back motion at all, right? So you want to keep that posture up, keep those elbows back and slide back. You may have one of the things at home is maybe a band. You can utilize a band. A band doesn't take up a lot of space, right? So what I like to do to activate my back, you can go into a pull apart. So you're just taking the band and you're pulling apart. And I'm squeezing my back, so my back wings together, and I'm pinching all your scapulas, so your back here, okay? So this is gonna kind of start activating that back so that when I sit down or stand, I can be here because I'm building strength and flexibility in that area rather than here where I'm loading the spine, loading the hips, and then I'm saying my back is all out of whack, my knees out of whack, and so on. So I will send, when we get off the call today, I do have a bunch of content information. We do have a lot of content on our Fitness Artist YouTube page, some other social media pages. But we also, throughout this whole COVID time, we did have the opportunity to shoot a bunch of content videos. So those will be coming out too. So, stay tuned for that. Definitely stretching, some strengthening, some body weight exercises. A lot of the things that we're doing right now only involve your body weight, a band, a dumbbell, and a kettlebell. It's, we don't have a lot of things at home. So I think even going into, not to get too far off tangent, but going to the gym, you have all these machines. And if you're on a chest press machine, right? So you see this chest press and you get on there and you're pressing, but if you don't have the back stability and posture, you continually keep pressing, sooner or later you start developing shoulder issue. So I don't want to make this seem so out of touch and like it's all complicated and very, very challenging. I think the more you can simplify it, the better, but really you don't have to do too much, right? It's, 5 to 8 different exercises, stretches that you can do on the regular that's gonna really put you, prevent you from injury. That's a big thing.
Another person asked, and you said you have a lot of content, but are there at-home workouts you would suggest if you don't have any weights at home?
Yeah, I mean, there's, I don't want to plug anything, right? But we do offer a body weight series at Fitness Artist, but there's also yoga. Yoga's phenomenal. I mean, you can go right on YouTube and type in total body yoga, total body flexibility. And I swear, I do yoga 3 days a week. And it's very hard to talk myself into doing it because it's like, oh my goodness, I don't want to do this. I'm tired, I'm unmotivated. But then you take yourself and you drag yourself down the stairs and you get on that yoga mat. And midway through it, you go, oh my goodness, I just feel better overall, right? So you don't need all these weights. Really, your body weight is, you look at gymnasts, I mean, gymnasts are strong as anything, right? And it's all body weight. So, but just YouTube, type in body weight exercises or body weight routine. YouTube is an unbelievable source for sure.
Thank you. Are there any last questions out there? I guess one more I see is, at what age do people normally lose their innate functional ability?
That's a good question. I think everybody's different. You know, and it also depends on what you do on an everyday basis, right? So whatever it is your job. So it's that routine, right? And people can get into that negative routine, or so we actually work with a lot of not only office workers, but also craft workers. So we have pipe fitters, janitors, truck drivers, electricians, surgeons, you know. So it's over and over again of being in that position day in and day out. You know, you start, as we get older, our posture starts rounding. And if we're not aware of, you know, doing something about it, next thing you know, we're here. You know, I'm sure you may look at your parents, or, you know, you go, sit up straight, stand up straight. So it's, as a kid, you're being told to sit up straight and fix your posture, but now you're saying that to your elders, right? So, but yeah, so it's a tricky question, but, you know, I would say, if I had to put an age on it, I would say after, you know, starting at age 40 is when you're, you know, starting to not deteriorate, right? But you're starting to, you know, kind of feel your body break down just a little bit more than obviously when you were younger. But there isn't a specific age. It's what you do on an everyday basis. So again, Chinese proverb of you're only as old as that's your spine health, right? So think about spine health on a surgeon.
Yeah.
Here, hours on end. They're so busy fixing everybody else. They need to be fixed, you know? And that's what we do. So I hope that answers your question on that, or kind of.
You know, usually we only think about people in an office spending hours on a computer, but New York State right now has gone to virtual learning for kids and for teens. Do you have any specific recommendations for them?
Sure, great question. For the kids, you're seeing a lot of they call tech neck, right? On your phones, texting or here. So I would definitely recommend getting them off their phones, getting them, you know, outside. Remember being a kid and going out in the woods and building forts and just being active, just moving and playing, you know, rather than being stuck and stagnant, right? So when the last question was, at what age do we start, you know, kind of going downhill, right? I mean, you could say, I've seen, you know, 15, 16-year-olds that have the spine of an 80-year-old. You know, so it's kind of scary. But I would definitely recommend them getting into some extracurricular activities, going out and, you know, maybe joining a club team or joining gymnastics. We actually do every once in a while, we'll do like an American Ninja Warrior class, which is kind of fun for the kids, setting up different obstacles. Just getting them moving and active. And I know it's easier said than done, right? But a lot of it comes to some other role models and mentors, rather than just their parents always saying, get off your phone, So they need to almost maybe hear it from another source, you know? So, but that is a great question for sure.
Well, thank you so much for your time, Travis. We really appreciate it.
Definitely.
If did you want to add anything else, or?
I mean, there's other things. There's other strengthening exercises that we like to do, because we talked about being functional, flexible, but then also jumping into being fit, right? And so all of this kind of leads to overall being fit and building your cardiovascular, you know, strength and efficiency in that. A lot of times people go, well, I don't want to jump on a treadmill or an elliptical. I feel like a hamster on a wheel, right? So you can do some fun things in your office where it's, you know, maybe 30 seconds on of jumping jacks and 30-second rest. Then going back into 30-second mountain climbers, 30-second rest. You know, so there's 30-second jogging in place, 30-second rest. So as you increase your cardiovascular ability, you're actually able to then limit the rest times and speed things up. And then there's strengthening that you could do. Air squats. So when you're squatting, you want to make sure that you're squatting correctly. We're not just squatting here and look at my spine. When Luca, my son, squatted, you didn't see this, right? You saw here. So I like to take my desk or my chair or a couch. I like to come down, just tap right on down. Because I'm coming down, I'm right at 90 degrees, coming right back up. Air squats, you can go into those pull aparts. Planks, building your core. A lot of us see planks, side planks, all that fun stuff. So again, there's a slew of different things that we could go over, but I don't want to overload you as much. And I will work on getting some content over to Heather so that she can provide that for the audience for sure.
Thank you so much, Travis. I think there were some great tips today, and this is such an important time to hear them. So I really appreciate that.
Yes.
I'm going to just take a minute to introduce some of our other webinars. So, on Thursday, May 28th from 4 to 5 p.m., reading teacher Kelsey Murray will provide us with tips to support children with their virtual classes, while you may be juggling trying to work at the same time. And on Wednesday, June 3rd from 4 to 5 p.m., Miriam Duchesne, managing partner of Allant Workforce Solutions, will provide tips on making a career pivot during the pandemic. Links to register for our webinars are available on our website blog, which you can find at sunrisemc.com. After this webinar, you will see a link to a survey. Would you please take a couple of minutes to give us feedback? Thank you so much for those who could join us today, and thank you, Travis. Your tips were so valuable, and we really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
All right, take care, everyone. Stay safe.